Hello, my Teaserking family. I haven't had an econ class in a couple of days. I apologize, Pat, Luke, but now I'm back. Um, Interesting. I was looking at this video, 50 small cities in Europe and then 50 best places to figure out where me and Jenna are going to go. So there's some nice places in Austria, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Greece, Montenegro, and another in Italy. Or the others are Croatia, Salzburg, Austria, Amalfi Coast, Italy, and Andorra, Spain. I don't know. I might try that. Amalfi Coast in Italy sounds like a nice one. All right. So you like my clever title, right? Let's see what we're at here. We've got 558. We got gold 2516, silver 2882. It was funny. I lost concentration. I was driving home, and instead of going up mile, I went a mile over to my gold shop, and it was like, what are my angels telling me to go buy some gold right now? Maybe they were. I didn't have my money on me, but hey, Pat. Yeah, sorry we haven't had it in a while, but yeah, anytime you want, you can go into the sports class and ask your questions. It's fine because it's normally for everything, and you guys wanted me to break it out, so I'm doing that, and we will see. We are in the final inning, Professor. Massive metal buying agree is underway. Hey, Luke, how are you today? So Pat's saying Russia's buying 7 times more gold than before. I assume that's their central bank or Putin. I'm here in Virginia Beach for some work, sitting on the ocean. Well, you're going to be buying the ocean soon, Luke. You have a nice house on the ocean with your gold. So again, gold's sitting pretty, 25.16. We survived anything low 24s. Silver, they're waiting. It's a buying opportunity. I have an Egon video to show. So first we'll do Egon.
Actual standard of living in the world peaked around 2000 and is only gone up artificially because of higher debts and financial markets going up. So that we have seen now a fake increase in standard of living that cannot be sustained, and no money printing is going to make a difference to that. So we are now going to see a massive decline in the standard of living. Standard of living is actually very much based on energy, and this absolute nonsense about the climate crowd, etc., makes no sense whatsoever. 85% of the world's energy comes from fossil fuels, and don't believe that we can replace that with wind turbines or solar cells, etc., in the short term. We might, and hopefully we can in the next 50, 75 years, but it's not going to happen overnight. So when you close down nuclear energy, coal mines, then you can understand that the world is in for a disaster.
So there you go with Egon. He's right. I mean, when you print the money, it doesn't help your standard of living. You're printing more. So everything's based on them printing money. So that's why it looks like everything's better, but it's not the way to do it. You do it by productivity, people working hard, getting raises, coming up with new products like the cell phone, like the laptop. That's when you had productivity gains, not the bullshit they're doing. Luke, I hope you're right. We need some steroids to hit. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm right. Pat, they're signaling that we will see an oil for gold. Yeah, I've been saying that. Saudi Arabia wants to get paid in gold get paid for their oil in gold because it's real money. They don't want the bullshit. Nobody wants this, right? Do you want this? I'll buy, something for it. Would you want this? Would you want this for your gold or silver or your mantle cards or your Rolex? Hell no. So this is the point. You don't want that. We don't want this. Saudi Arabia and Russia, China, no, and they don't want this. So that's where it's coming to. They want gold for their oil. They're not idiots. Why would I want pieces of toilet paper for my oil? I'm giving you really good oil. And I'm getting toilet paper. Now they can take the toilet paper and buy more gold with it at this point, and it's still cheap. But eventually, it ain't going to happen. Luke, I like Egon. He doesn't pussyfoot around. Well, that's why I show Egon and Mark McGuire and the rest of them a bunch of idiots. Even Alligator's been really strange lately. Luke, a meat at a restaurant down here is $60 for an entree and 2 beers plus tip. Well, is it a good steak? I mean, if it's Ruth Chris's Steakhouse or Morton's, yeah, that I can understand. Beers are $6 to $10. You're better off just going to are they that expensive at Kroger's? I don't know. I don't buy beer, and I know pop's been up, but just get green tea or ice water. The funny thing in Europe, well, you were there in Barcelona, they don't give you water with the meal, or if you do, they give you the bottled water at $3-4 a bottle. And we're used to here, just fill up my glass with water, and they just fill it up. So that's the biggest problem in Europe. You don't know if you're getting the water or if it's you don't want bottled water, you just want tap water. But they don't. They're all trying to sell, so they want to sell you the bottled water. And we will see, but so just get your beer, bring in your beer. Just go get a Heineken and bring it in. Have you been to the Heineken brewery in Amsterdam? When we're not at the red light district, I go to the jewelry exchange or the Van Gogh Museum or something. They think I'm not. How come you're not at the red light? Well, yeah, I'm taking a break. So then we have Japan is plunging. This is 18.
Hey, aren't you tired of all the hype about AI? AI this, AI that?
Shut up.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Barbara O'Neill. Today.
Sorry, Barbara.
Prices. I've done videos this week on gasoline and oil. Japanese stocks plunged again today, and the yen is moving higher. U.S. tech stocks and the AI bubble.
I don't know who this idiot is.
Raising way too many similarities to the early part of last month, and all of it related to recession fears that people just were not ready for, despite the buildup of warning signs all along the last couple months. More than that, people are really beginning to understand these are not just fears. The U.S. government reported more alarming labor data earlier today, with job openings plunging, hiring still incredibly weak, plus now the highest level of layoffs since last March during the banking crisis. The yen carry trade didn't stop unwinding after early August. It was just less disorderly and chaotic. But if you weren't watching closely or you were glued only to the stock market, you would have missed the disorder picking back up from the middle of last month up to now. What was most significant about the stock market crash in Tokyo back then, as well as today, is that it showed just how fragile the global system is when it's forced to reprice systemic risk. That's what's still happening, and the warning signs, as I said, have been all over the place. I mean, commodities are down again, oil is plunging, gasoline incredibly low. I've shown you the copper to gold ratio, swap spreads, both huge warnings. We'll update the yield curve and forward rates here, where SOFR futures are pricing the next steps for all of that. Some of those contracts and SOFR futures are already back to where they were in early August. Even central bankers are now clearly uncomfortable. The Canadians, for example, they did another rate cut today, their third in a row, showing that once central bankers start, they don't stop. There's always a series of rate cuts because They underestimate the weakening. And because rate cuts don't do anything, officials have to keep on chasing that weakening as it gets, well, weaker.
Why would Canada be cutting rates? They have massive high inflation. So Canada's gone. And Japan's not far off if their stock market's crashing. I don't know why they keep thinking that the stock market's the key, right? Oh, we'll push the stock market up. Yeah, but your inflation and your debt and everything else, what good is keeping your stock market at such a high number? So it's really stupid. The markets are imploding now. Yeah, it's going to happen here real soon. They keep pushing it up, but it's all inflated. It's all printing money going into the stock market, not supply and demand of the people. So sort of like, well, nobody's bidding up the mantle card, but it's going up because they're printing money to sell it. Some guy did that with one of those stupid digital things, one of those Ponzi schemes. The guy bid up like a monkey to like $1 million, and then he sold it to the guy and then gave him his money back to try to say, look, this sold for $1 million. But again, another Madoff. I can't trust any of these digital things. I'll never trust the digital money or the Bitcoin or any of that to be real. I'm glad for you got out of it, Luke, and that you made your money, but you don't even know if it's real. How do you know something's real if you can't even touch it? It's just really, I'll take the physical gold. Thank you very much. The markets are imploding now. Luke, I've been to Amsterdam. Red light is crazy. So is Pink Street in Lisbon, Portugal. I didn't see Pink Street, unfortunately. I was with Jenna then. Interesting. Pat, I think it's starting the plunge. Canada's housing market is nosediving, and our friend who put 400 grand into his house. Remember that one? So the guy sells his house for 400 or 500 grand, and I tell him to take the 400 and buy gold. No, he bought a $700,000 house near Quebec. This is what happens when you don't listen to the professor. So he takes that and he's going to lose all his money. He could have had 400 grand. He could have had 400 grand in gold and he'd be all set for life. But no, he knows better. Canada's collapsed. England's, UK's collapsed. Germany's heading out. France, I don't know how good Italy is. Turkey's out. We know Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. I mean, it's all dominoes, right? And we're next. We're right up there. They'll hold off as long as they can, but who's going to buy? Why would you buy debt from a country that has 35 trillion in debt? You're going to get paid back? Really? And Japan, later on in this video, I'm not going to waste our time with it. He did say that they are sold all their T-bills. So Japan unloaded all their T-bills to get out of debt, which is going to cause massive inflation here because the money all comes back. So you printed 130 trillion outside of the U.S. for people to use in their FX conversions. Nobody wants them now. So everybody's going to the brick, or everybody's saying, fuck you. All the treasury bills, they're selling. So they get the yen and they sell it and give the U.S. dollars back to the U.S. Here goes the stock market. Here goes the housing market and the banks. It's going to be collapse right around the end of October, I think. This is an excellent one I want to share with you on value versus valuation. The value of a company is what it's actually worth on their financial statements. You had $1 billion in revenue. You have 500,000 in expense. You made 500,000. That's your profit. But what's happening is the valuation of the IFCOM. That's why Meta and Facebook and Twitter have such high prices, but they don't have profits. There is no profits. I'm going to show you this, and this is a good video.
Almost 2 new unicorns are born every day, startups with $1 billion price tag attached to them. These once extremely rare valuations are becoming almost 2 new unicorns are born every day. Startups with $1 billion price tag attached to them. These once extremely rare valuations are becoming, well, less rare. In 2013, billion-dollar businesses only happened 4 times a year. But in 2021, a staggering 586 unicorns were new to the market. What's the deal with these valuations? Are investors putting their hope into the hype of the next big thing? Or after very public catastrophes like Theranos or FTX, should investors be more wary? Let's look at how to think about the weird phenomenon of value versus valuations in the startup world, and what, if anything, they have to do with each other. If I offered to sell you a dollar bill, I couldn't ask you to pay more than $1 for it, right? The value of this piece of printed paper is right there, clearly marked. But if I had a rare dollar bill, that piece of paper could be worth, say, $150,000, depending on who's buying. Essentially, this is the difference between value and valuation. The value is the concrete number, what something is actually worth. A valuation is a different thing altogether, basically a forecast of what you think it's worth based on a number of factors. For a company's valuation, it's common to multiply the revenue by a standard rate. This is called a price-to-earnings ratio, which is how much an average investor is willing to spend to earn $1 from that company. And investors are fickle, so as the economy changes, so does the price-to-earnings ratio for a company. As of now, the P/E is around 21, meaning an investor would spend $21 million to buy a company that earns $1 million a year. Compare that to 2009, when companies were valued at 70 times their revenue, or in the 1980s, when the price to earnings was just 8. This tactic for valuation makes some sense for established companies, but what about startups that don't yet have any sales? How do founders with not much more than a business plan and some small test markets get valuations of billions? To do this, investors will often look at comparable companies to determine a fair price, much like real estate does. If you have a startup that makes electric bikes, investors can check the valuation of companies making electric scooters or skateboards to make their valuations. Simple, right? Not always. Take Uber, for example. When investors started to get interested, there wasn't another rideshare company in the market. Instead, Uber had to rely on users to get its valuation, showing investors how many rides people were taking every day. Talking about users is a common way to attract funding to your brand new platform, even if you're not yet making sales. Now, imagine you run a hotel. You have a fixed number of rooms, and you know roughly how many guests will come each year. It's straightforward to estimate your earnings year after year. But what if you had a hotel with an infinite number of rooms? And what if, instead of a few hundred guests, your infinite hotel had hundreds of millions? And for now, you're letting all these guests stay in your hotel for free, but just imagine how much money you could be making when you figure out a way to charge them. That's the promise companies like Twitter, Uber, or Snapchat make to their investors. They build the hype by promising potential from their users, not actual profits. This is also known as vanity metrics, using terms like users, likes, views, or downloads to talk up a company's valuation. Vanity metrics look good on paper, and they can certainly help to sell investors on high valuations. In 2011, Uber had a valuation of $60 million, all based on operating in just 3 U.S. cities. But just 3 years.
See, all this is Ponzi scheme. If you're dumb enough to invest in the stocks doing the IFCOM, you're out of your minds. So how do you do stocks? How do you buy a stock? You look at cash flow from operations. That's the best way to see what the company's really doing, what they're really worth, what their earnings really are. And you get into companies with PE ratios like not more than 25. So what I'm hearing here is on the IFCOM, well, they don't have any earnings now, but they're going to make earnings, and idiots are investing in them. These people are going to go broke because it doesn't mean shit. Why would you risk your money on a company that hasn't got any earnings? Maybe they'll get earnings. Are you out of your fucking mind? Because that's how you tell if it's good management. Right? Do I have a bunch of clowns running my company, or people who just want to get the valuation and leave, like Zuckerberg and these idiots? Facebook doesn't make money. It just sells our information for for crap. I mean, a lot of these AI and everything else do not make money. So why is this valuation so high? And they're billionaires, and they haven't produced anything. They don't have any profits. What the fuck's going on? I don't know who's teaching this shit, but this isn't how I learned to value a stock. It's cash flow from operations says, what is the real value of the company? That's what you're trying to find. What's it worth? Sort of like what I do look at our gold. We look at gold and we say, man, gold's worth much more than, 22, well, 25. What was my title? Paper gold, 25, physical is what? And so if they're looking at that, the value of the physical we know is much higher than the paper because they keep doing these derivatives, lowering it, and it's not looked at. So when Pat says that Russia is buying 7 times more gold, the price should be going through the roof because they're buying it. But it doesn't even affect the cost or the price. I mean, what the fuck? So that's the point. So yeah, physical gold we know is probably 25,000, 20,000 if you got the derivatives out of the way. But you're dealing in paper gold, which most people don't even understand, which is like this valuation shit. So they're valuing a company based on what? Based on nothing. Well, maybe there'll be another company. But again, you're missing the point. Now, as you add competition, it lowers the revenue. It lowers the profit. So if me and Luke are in it selling tennis rackets, and we got all the market, we're getting a lot. We're getting 40%. But as soon as Pat comes in selling tennis rackets, now we got competition. Prices get lowered. Quality goes up. Now we get 20%, not 40%. That's what competition does. It lowers there's less pie, right? So your revenue, your profits go down, but it's okay. There's just more people in it. Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's, they still make a good profit. But if there was just one, it would cost you $15. But because there's 3, it's a $7 or so piece of crap hamburger. Oh, look who joined the conversation, Bobby Bo. Yeah, I think it's starting. Canada's done. Bobby Bo. Hi, Bobby Bo. Of course, class. NFL football starts live tonight. Let's go, Mahomes. Yep, we talked about that in the football class, but we can talk about it here. Of course, let's go medals. Yep, you like my title? It's they're still wheeling in paper gold, not physical yet. I see the whole Tiki family is here. Bobby Bo, Luke, and the vampire. We got a new cousin, Pat. Pat lives in Singapore. Bobby, he's joining us. Real D was on yesterday, interested in the football. Nick, I don't see much. Kenzie's still vampiring whoever she can vampire. Yeah, Luke's we're really interested in the Capitol Grill, Bobby. We want to. We're itching to go eat something. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, we're excited. I'm excited for football, and I did give a free pick. I gave Cincinnati to destroy New England because Chase is playing. Your buddy from LSU. Chase is practicing. He will be playing. They are going to kill them. I was waiting for Chase and that. And then my free college is Northern Illinois getting 34 from Notre Dame. And you go, why? And I go, because they got 700 of yards of offense, Northern Illinois, like 400 running and passing, 300 running. They're going to score on Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is not equipped to put up a 50 points on a Northern Illinois team who's going to score on them. I mean, this is probably going to be, let's say, 42-28. We're getting 34, so definitely like the points in that one. Chase didn't sign. Chase is holding out. And then Jefferson and Burrow are saying, look, let's play. So now today he finally practiced. it's finally like, okay, they called this bluff. It's the big practice to get ready for Sunday. And he's like, I'm practicing, I'm ready. And he's all excited. And then Burrow's all excited. Now I'm all excited. And they play New England, the worst team in the New England couldn't beat Georgia. They'd lose to Georgia by 30 points, I think. So ask your professor, and you know how those letdown games beat two, and Notre Dame just had a big road victory. So I would have thought this would have been a 17-point line. Notre Dame doesn't have much of an offense, and a very emotional game with A&M. And here comes Northern Illinois, which I wouldn't normally take. They got 750 yards of offense last week against, I don't care if it was a high school team, a junior high team, or what. You get 700 yards of offense? Jesus Christ. You're telling me Notre Dame's going to shut them down for 4 quarters? You got 700 yards? I don't think so. And Northern Illinois is a pretty good MAC team. They're not like Kent State or Akron. Yeah, Greg and John, whatever. I can't believe how bad the Patriots have become. Now they are a complete joke. I don't think if they played in the SEC, I don't think they could win a game. Maybe they could have beat Vanderbilt, but I would take Vanderbilt now. Or maybe they could beat Florida. They couldn't beat Georgia, Alabama, Missouri. They wouldn't have a chance. I mean, if they played Georgia, it might be 28-3 Georgia. Brissett, he wasn't good in college. This is your quarterback. You have no running, you have no receiving, and you have no defense, and you don't even have a coach. The coach has never coached before. What the fuck? So anyway, so what we're looking at is how they're valuing companies who aren't making money, and people are investing all this money. And the owner is Madoffing everybody. He's taking the valuations. He's getting all the money, and then he's saying, fuck off. So let me get back to it.
It was valued at $41 billion, claiming 1 million rides taken a day. That meant that Uber gained $30 million in valuation.
This is a good one here.
Vanity metrics look good on paper, and they can certainly help to sell investors on high valuations. In 2011, Uber had a valuation of $60 million, all based on operating in just 3 U.S. cities. But just 3 years later, it was valued at $41 billion, claiming 1 million rides taken a day. That meant that Uber gained $30 million in valuation every single day. When Uber investors heard vanity metric numbers like app downloads or rides per day, they were believers. After all, no investor wants to miss out on the next Uber or Airbnb. So when the next and newest platforms talked about millions of users, investors were reluctant to say no. But these vanity metrics aren't always telling an accurate story. When Snapchat had 83 million users in 2015, it was valued at $1 billion. And even though it now has over 330 million users and is valued at over $16 billion, Snapchat has never once recorded a profitable year. The question is, how much longer are investors willing to wait for companies like Snapchat to finally get a return on their investment? Will vanity metrics continue to attract investors who are happy to wait for future profits? Or maybe investors are starting to lose their patience and demand actual returns? Recently, Meta's shareholders came together to voice serious doubts about the future of the company, saying that Zuckerberg's obsession with his metaverse is costing the company billions. And Meta's shareholders have a point. While Zuckerberg's metaverse cost Meta 74% of its value in a year, not a single investor has volunteered more money for the project. FTX, the now famous cryptocurrency exchange, saw its $15 billion valuation collapse to virtually nothing over a single day after investors stopped believing in the hype of false valuations. And this is not a new trend. In the 2000 dot-com bubble, investors who believed the hype of bloated valuations lost. Big time. In 1998, the grocery delivery service Webvan was vastly overvalued, as were many web-based services at the time. Webvan had just $400,000 in revenue, but went public with a valuation of $4.8 billion. That's a valuation 12,000 times what it was earning. And after 3 years of losing money, Webvan failed to fool any more investors with its promises and went bankrupt in 2001. More recently, WeWork's...
These people are idiots. How do you invest in a company that isn't making money? Because they might make money. Well, no, let me talk to you when you are making money. That's like investing in Caleb. Well, he could win a Super Bowl. There's no way this guy's winning a Super Bowl. So the Ponzi scheme is he's really good, but you can't say that without seeing him. And what we saw last year in the Notre Dame, USC, or UCLA game, the Oregon game, there ain't nothing there. So you've got to watch it. You can't invest in a company that isn't making money. Are you out of your fucking mind? These people need, I don't know what they're doing. Oh, yeah, invest in a company. It doesn't make any money, but it's sort of like the crypto queen with OneCoin. She didn't even have it. It wasn't even real. And people are investing in it and losing their ass because they think the OneCoin is going to be better than Bitcoin because this idiot says so. Jesus Christ. They were a dynasty for close to 2 decades and now might have a chance to go 0-16 like the Lions did a few. Well, they probably won't win a game unless they get Carolina. Which video is that? It's this one. It's called Worth Billions but No Profits Startup Value. It's on Startup Savant. I just go through and then I get these finance ones. And if I see something that I'm interested in it, because I can understand it, and basically this is what they're doing. They're buying. The valuation is an IFCOM. It's maybe the Lions will win the Super Bowl, and people are betting on it. You got to be out of your mind. They ain't winning the Super Bowl. They'll be lucky to win their division, but people will bet on it because the hype is they're gonna go to the Super Bowl based on what? Lions are gonna go to the Super Bowl based on what? Yeah, okay. Good luck with that one. Who are the Titans start? I think it's going to be Will Levis. Professor can be the quarterback and I'll play receiver. Yeah, we can do that, Bobby. Although I'm a better catcher than thrower. I can throw, but I can't throw very far. Luke can be the running back, and Grego will just be the vampire. He'll talk to the other team, and they'll all go. All right, the last minute.
Investors sobered up and canceled a very public IPO because its $48 billion valuation didn't line up with the revenue reported. Even Twitter failed to show any real promise, instead relying on Elon Musk's offer to simply buy it out and make it private. And after spending $44 billion and on the hook for $1 billion of interest payments every year, Musk is now frantically trying to do what others could not: get Twitter to turn a profit. In part because of the very public concerns with Twitter, FTX, and the metaverse, investors are calling this a market readjustment, a reevaluation, or a slowdown.
It's a Madoff.
Essentially, venture capital firms are sobering up to the reality of finding the next unicorn, especially given the uncertainty with today's economy. Wild market swings and a booming recession make fickle investors jumpy, and companies have to work harder to prove their valuations. Investors need to know they can make their money back, normally through the sale of the startup or through an IPO, but both of these typical cash earners were down an incredible 88% from last year. Even big VC firms like Sequoia Capital are issuing dire predictions, warning their own employees that cash will be tight and spending will decrease. And while investors still want to invest, that means they'll be depending on stronger financials, provable revenues, and a quicker path to profit. In short, investors are still searching for the right opportunity. While it might be cool to say your company's value begins with a B, it's much cooler to have a company that delivers what it promises and sustains growth year after year. We're fascinated by all things business here, including the failures and flops that are making headlines today. After all, seeing the whole picture makes us all more informed and empowered. And no matter what happens in tomorrow's news, we'll be there to break it down. Remember,
they're breaking it down. Well, you do a good job distracting everybody on here, asking them if they bet on football. Here's a good one, but I haven't watched it. What do investment bankers actually do? They don't do anything. It's like that Facebook movie. They look like they're doing it. Hey, let's see. So I can play this Egon again for you, Bobby. You missed it.
Actual standard of living in the world peaked around 2000 and is only gone up artificially because of higher debts and financial markets going up. So that we have seen now a fake increase in standard of living that cannot be sustained, and no money printing is going to make a difference to that. So we are now going to see a massive decline in the standard of living. Standard of living is actually very much based on energy, and this absolute nonsense about the climate crowd, etc., makes no sense whatsoever. 85% of the world's energy comes from fossil fuels, and don't believe that we can replace that with wind turbines or solar cells, etc., in the short term. We might, and hopefully we can in the next 50, 75 years,
Never.
but it's not going to happen overnight. So when you close down nuclear energy, coal mines, then you can understand that the world is in for a disaster.
So I don't know what they're thinking, these idiots. The green energy and the get out of oil. You can't. There's not enough wind and solar to power anything, right? Very little, and you got to keep recharging. And what do you do when it's not a sunny day out or it's not a windy day? Well, sorry, we don't have energy. We could use the oil we have that there's a plethora of, but you know what? Oh God, we all might die. We're gonna die from not having fossil fuels, way ahead of dying from any type of oil usage or something. It's so stupid. Yeah, that's Egon. Let's see. So we did the value and that. Here's a good one. Japan and
The
Saudi
decision of
Arabia.
Japan and Saudi Arabia to divest from U.S. treasuries and debt has sparked considerable debate and speculation in financial and geopolitical circles. This move marks a significant shift in global economic dynamics and warrants a deep dive into the possible motivations, implications, and future scenarios arising from such a strategic decision. The ramifications are profound, potentially altering the balance of global economic power and reshaping international relations. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. U.S. Treasury securities have long been considered one of the safest investments in the world.
Not anymore.
They are bonds issued by the United States Department of the Treasury to finance government spending. These securities are attractive to foreign governments because they are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, which has a strong track record of repayment. For decades,
Not
major
anymore.
economies around the world, including Japan and Saudi Arabia, have invested heavily in U.S. treasuries, making them crucial players in the financing of U.S. debt. Japan and Saudi Arabia, in particular, have held significant amounts of U.S. debt, reflecting their strong economic ties with the United States. Japan, as one of the world's largest economies, has traditionally seen U.S. treasuries as a stable and liquid investment option. Saudi Arabia, with its oil wealth, has also been a major holder of U.S. debt, utilizing its investments as part of a broader strategy to manage its vast financial reserves. To fully understand the implications of Japan and Saudi Arabia selling off their U.S. Treasury holdings, it is essential to consider the broader global economic context. The world economy has been going through a period of significant change, with emerging markets gaining prominence and established economies facing new challenges. The rise of China as a global economic powerhouse, increasing geopolitical tensions, and the ongoing technological revolution are reshaping international economic relations. The COVID-19 pandemic further complicated the global economic landscape, leading to unprecedented levels of government spending and borrowing, particularly in the United States. This has raised concerns about the long-term sustainability of U.S. debt levels and the potential for inflationary pressures. As the U.S. government continues to borrow heavily to finance its stimulus measures, some foreign investors may perceive greater risks associated with holding U.S. treasuries. Japan's decision to sell off its U.S. treasuries can be understood through several lenses. First, Japan has been grappling with its own economic challenges, including an aging population, low economic
They're
growth,
bankrupt.
and deflationary pressures. These issues have forced Japan to rethink its investment strategies and focus more on domestic priorities. By reducing its holdings of U.S. treasuries, Japan could be seeking to redirect its financial resources towards stimulating its own economy, investing in infrastructure, or addressing social welfare needs. Another possible motivation for Japan's divestment is the changing dynamics in U.S.-Japan relations. While the two countries have long been close allies, recent years have seen some strain in the relationship, particularly in trade and economic matters. Japan may be looking to diversify its investments to reduce its dependence on U.S. assets and hedge against potential risks in the bilateral relationship. Moreover, Japan has been increasingly focused on regional economic integration in Asia, particularly through initiatives like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. By reallocating its financial resources away from U.S. treasuries, Japan could be positioning itself to play a more significant role in the economic development of the Asia-Pacific region. Saudi Arabia's decision to divest from U.S. treasuries is equally significant and is likely driven by a combination of economic and geopolitical factors. Saudi Arabia, as the world's largest oil exporter, has been deeply affected by fluctuations in global oil prices. The country has been pursuing an ambitious economic diversification plan known as Vision 2030, aimed at reducing its dependence on oil revenues and building a more sustainable economy. Selling off U.S. treasuries could be part of Saudi Arabia's strategy to finance its domestic development projects under Vision 2030. The Saudi government has been investing heavily in infrastructure, tourism, and other non-oil sectors to create new sources of income and employment. By liquidating some of its U.S. treasury holdings, Saudi Arabia could be seeking to free up capital to support these initiatives. On the geopolitical front,
what if I told you that it pays to put solar panels and a Tesla Powerwall on your home this year? And there's
free up capital to support these initiatives. On the geopolitical front, Saudi Arabia's decision may reflect a desire to assert greater independence from the United States. The relationship between the two countries, while historically strong, has faced challenges in recent years, particularly over issues related to human rights, regional conflicts, and energy policies. By reducing its holdings of U.S. debt, Saudi Arabia could be signaling a shift towards a more diversified foreign policy, seeking to build stronger ties with other global powers such as China and Russia. The sale of U.S. treasuries by Japan and Saudi Arabia could have significant implications for the U.S. economy. One immediate concern is the potential impact on interest rates. U.S. Treasury yields are influenced by supply and demand dynamics. If major holders like Japan...
Bullshit. So here comes the inflation, right? Because they got all this money. And what did I warn you? When the stock market and the housing market and the banks are going to crash is when all that foreign money comes in. China's dumped $6 trillion in treasuries. Here's Japan going out, Saudi Arabia. Well, where does that money go? It comes back to us. That's huge inflation because the money's been printed but used. Now the money's coming back. So now there's even more money, which makes the money worthless. So here comes massive inflation with all this money coming back from all the BRICS countries. And here Japan's not even in BRICS. Saudi Arabia is. They want to get gold for their oil. They don't want the U.S. dollar. They're in bed with China and Russia now. It's going to be the bye-bye blues for sure here because this is the beginning of the massive inflation coming back that has been warned to us, that 130 trillion outside the U.S. Well, now you've got it coming back, and that ain't a good sign. Because the inflation's been held down because it's been outside. And all these countries have it. And, now that they don't want it anymore and it comes back, say goodbye to the stock market. I hope you're out soon. Professor telling ad to fuck off. Yeah. All right. Greg and John, do you realize this is an economics class? Right? Do you understand we're talking gold and we're talking these other countries and brics and COMEX and gold. Who the fuck is Xavier Worthy? I'm the Chiefs. What kind of questions that for gold and silver and economics? Unbelievable. All right. So I think we get the idea in this video that those two countries are dumping the dollars and they'll buy gold with it. The demand for gold keeps going higher and higher, blowing up COMEX because they'll want to take delivery, and the U.S. doesn't have it. And I think we haven't seen a whole lot of gold. When I show the gold, very little 10 o'clock droppage this week. 10 o'clock, it actually went up at about 10:30. It was 25.20. It only went down to 25.07. It only went down $13, and now it's back up to 25.16 at 5:46, and we're at 6:43. We will refresh it. Yeah, so it's 25.16. It's funny how it's up $20 when it was, this is where it's been for the whole week. But we got Mark McGuire pounding home October 22nd. That's BRICS gold-backed currency, and that's what we're waiting for. And you just gotta go, and understand that's the end of the. Okay, you have a choice. Do you want gold or do you want dollar? Do you want this shit or do you want gold? And who the hell is going to take this shit over gold? Especially, even if you don't know anything, there's a $36 trillion debt. We have huge deficits. We got a moron trying to run Harris for president. We got, I don't know what Trump is. He's a bad businessman, that's for sure. But so you got two clowns running for president. This is embarrassing. And you got George Soros, who's going to fix the election anyway. All right. What else? What other goodies did I find? Germany made a deal with China about a semiconductor chip. So these chips are very expensive, are now being made in Germany for China and Taiwan and everybody else. So that's good news for Germany. Jeez, I don't know who this guy is. You ever watch this Dan Bongino guy? He's talking about Trump. So this is fun to watch.
I'm really afraid of announcing this because I feel I'm going to get a lot of hate from the entire South.
I hate you for being on my thing.
I'll turn it over
Get
to
off
our
my
subject
show.
matter experts, beginning with Mr. Bongino for opening remarks.
This guy should
Well,
run for
thanks for your
president.
time. Thank you for doing this. Sound okay? Everybody hear me back there? Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Listen, let's just get right to the point. This was an apocalyptic security failure. A man was murdered in front of his family. 3 people were shot on live television, including President Trump in the head, who came within 2 millimeters of having his head explode on national television in front of millions of people. There's no sugarcoating it. It's no time for BS. Unfortunately, as Congressman Crane and Mills both indicated, the story seems to have been vanquished to the phantom zone of media coverage. It's amazing how we're still talking about JFK's assassination, but nobody seems to want to talk about President Trump being shot in the head on national television, despite the fact that we have no answers. So I have 5 minutes, so I want to keep it quick, and I want to make 3 points. I worked in the Secret Service for 12 years. I loved it. I worked with some really amazing men and women who gave everything. I mean, a couple of them literally gave everything. I know guys who've gotten bizarre diseases overseas, like chikungunya fever and protection operations. Everybody gave a little bit of something in the Secret Service, and it was a real honor to say I was part of it. But they have 3 institutional problems, I believe, in the macro will help us get to the bottom of how this Secret Service apocalyptic failure won't happen again. First, they have a technology problem. The joke in the Secret Service, which is sadly no longer funny when I was there, and it wasn't funny then either, is they rely on yesterday's technology tomorrow. Think about that. Yesterday's technology tomorrow. Everything from computer systems that waste agents' times, filling out time and attendance records they were doing, to Congressman Crane and I discussing the fact that they only implemented slings, a technology as old as the wheel, about, 5 or 6 years into my time in the Secret Service, which is embarrassing. The weaponry was old. Everything was old. These are things I would have talked about sooner if they didn't create a security crisis, and I obviously didn't want to air them publicly. Now you're seeing what happens when you don't have a drone up at a site you could have bought for $39.99 on Amazon. Second, another adage in the Secret Service you've heard even the new acting director discuss is the more with less approach. There is no more with less. There's less with less, okay? The Secret Service more with less approach only works if you produce more. That's how capitalism works. You produce a flat screen TV that was probably 20 years ago, $10,000. It's $200 at Walmart now. They produce a better TV with less. That's not what the Secret Service did. They produced less with more. They were given more money and produced less. A 20-year-old criminal outsmarted them on a $40 drone technology piece of device. You're telling me that's more with less? That's disgusting. That's nothing with less. That's less with more. Their budget went up. You guys know you're appropriators. You know that. Third, and I'll wrap it up with this, turn it over to Mr. Prince. The investigative mission, the Secret Service, that they're telling you they need to make them better agents is total crap. That's garbage. Their agents are talented, smart people. They can figure out how to do protection without running out cheap $20 counterfeit notes at 7-Eleven on a Friday night while the president's getting shot in the head. How is it we have a DEA, we have an FBI, we have TIGTA, the IRS, CBP, and 1,000 other entities with a $6 trillion budget, which I know a lot of you guys have been fighting against this grotesque spending. $3 billion goes to the Secret Service, and we're wasting time running out counterfeit notes. It's a serious problem, counterfeiting. Granted, it might be a legacy item. They started doing counterfeiting. That's not what we do now. Get rid of the investigative mission, turn it over to other people, let them do what they do best and should do best. Protection. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you for doing this. Thanks to the panelists as well.
Yeah. You're welcome. So pretty good. I like the guy. At least he's honest. Saudi Arabia signs a $50 billion deal with China for oil. Tells the U.S. to fuck off. That's going to come back to haunt the U.S. We watched Alligator. It was same old. I didn't like the white suit on him. The end of Korea. We've touched on South Korea is in big trouble. Financially, they're all financially going broke, all at once. I like Stossel. Let's watch Stossel for a minute.
Have you ever heard of an economy being taxed into prosperity?
Yeah, the Nazis.
Everywhere, people trash capitalism. No system has redistributed wealth from the poor to the rich as effectively as our own.
I call it slavery by another name.
But what they think they know about capitalism is often wrong. In this video and the next, we'll bust 7 myths about capitalism.
No one ever makes $1 billion. You take $1 billion.
That's myth 1. Capitalists get rich by taking money from others.
Jeff Bezos has what, $100 billion? Yeah, his wealth is making a lot of people poor.
People assume that because they think
we have a finite amount of money.
A finite amount. So when they win, you lose. But that's not true because entrepreneurs create new wealth. Research shows that when they got rich,
they only kept 2.2% of the additional wealth they generated for the economy.
Economist Dan Mitchell.
In other words, the rest of us captured almost 98% of the benefits.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Yes, Steve Jobs kept billions. But by creating Apple, he gave us more. So many new jobs. And he added billions to our economy, all by creating tech that makes our lives better.
I hope that we get 100 new super billionaires, because that means that there's 100 new people who have figured out ways to make the rest of our lives better off.
Let's abolish billionaires. This former labor secretary says entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos would be just as motivated by, say, $100 million or even $50 million. Ooh. But he misses the most important fact about capitalism.
I'm not giving Jeff Bezos any money unless he's selling me something that I value more than that money.
Billionaires.
No one deserves to have that much money.
None of these zillionaires needs that much money.
If you put a cap on how much money someone can make, are they going to continue innovating? No. Maybe you just decide to take it easy. You retire. You sail a yacht around the world. You're going to start consuming instead of saving and producing.
When I say things like that, people call me a complete moron and tweet more money in the richest hands means money sitting in the bank doing nothing. But that's an ignorant view of banks. In reality,
that money gets lent out,
which allows other people to build businesses, buy homes, get educated.
New machinery, tools, factories, equipment, technology.
Still, we hear
the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
That's myth too. The truth is that the poor and middle class are getting richer too.
The economic pie grows. We are much richer than our grandparents, and our grandparents were much richer than their grandparents.
For thousands of years, the world had almost no wealth creation. Then some countries tried capitalism.
You can see that per capita GDP is climbing and climbing and climbing.
Capitalists helped everyone, including the poor.
They do by bringing cheaper and better food to my supermarket. They do it by providing better goods and services.
So high tech, it could only come from Motorola. Look how communications changed. 25 years ago, phones looked like this. Then we got the BlackBerry, the iPhone.
Way smarter than any mobile device has ever been.
Now we have cheap smartphones. When the media say
middle class is in decline,
America's middle class is in decline.
Well, they're right.
But they miss why.
It's shrinking because more and more people are moving into those upper income quintiles. The rich get richer in a capitalist society, but guess what? The rest of us get richer as well.
The average family today is almost a third richer than 40 years ago because capitalists compete to get our dollars. Of course, this assumes there's competition. But I'm told that's no longer true. In fact, I'm a miserable, selfish pig for not saying that monopolies destroyed the free market. Some Republicans and Democrats say that's why tech companies must be broken up.
calling Facebook, Amazon, and Apple all monopolies.
But are they really monopolies?
We do have monopolies. The government school system, postal service. Monopolies are almost always a creation of government intervention.
Blocking competition, for example.
Keeping your phone system the best in the world.
Government granted Ma Bell a monopoly on phone calls. And in 30 years, their phones went from this to, well, just this.
Always improving. That's the Bell system for you.
A short phone call costs $17. Ma Bell got away with that because government banned competition.
In a free market economy, it's impossible to have a monopoly because if somebody manages to get a lot of market share and they try to raise prices, new competitors are going to spring up and they're going to draw away the customers.
That happened to Blockbuster. It charged late fees. Netflix promised no late fees. Blockbuster soon went out of business. But people say today's tech companies are uniquely powerful. No one can compete with them.
I use DuckDuckGo as my search engine. I don't use Google. But guess what? Even if I used Google and Facebook for 10 hours a day, no one's holding a gun to my head. They're obviously providing something of value. Heck, they're providing free search engines, free social media.
Just 14
It's
years
just
ago,
about done,
people
just a
called
second.
MySpace a monopoly. Then Facebook proved them wrong. Our government once called U.S. Steel, Pan Am, IBM, Internet Explorer, and Kodak monopolies. That's something to consider next time you hear
Big tech are the robber barons of the 21st century.
robber barons like Rockefeller and Vanderbilt. But what we think about them is mostly a myth too. In my next video, 4 other myths about capitalism.
I couldn't find that video, or I would share that. Okay. Mayron Abraham. All right. Welcome to class. Hello. Please, Mayron Napier. Okay. Whatever you'd like, sir. Luke, if you take the manipulation off the dollar, then you'll see even more productivity in the end of monopolies. Well, just allow the competition. See, the government doesn't allow the competition, like schools. Why aren't schools public or private? Why do we need the government running the schools? Why don't we just let anybody? I'll go teach economics somewhere at whatever at the professor's school, at the Teaserking school. Why do we, why is it only public schools, which are bullshit? They're terrible. You need the competition. It makes you better, drives the cost down. Why are colleges so fucking expensive? That's insanity. They shouldn't be that much. Bobby, I like Mayran here. He is a real vampire. Do we know him? I don't know if I know him, but sounds like a vampire. It's coming in a true price for gold and silver. Well, that's what we're waiting for. We know that's manipulated, and we want a free market competitive gold and silver price, and you'll see everybody jump in, and the price, I don't think 20,000 is even close to a reality price. Yeah, I know, Luke. Hopefully metals will wake up soon. Well, they're waking. They're 25.20. Bobby, I think we will end the year strong. Number 25, laugh out loud. Did you hear number 23 for the Bucks? I don't know. What's this, football? I don't know. I didn't catch you on the last two, Luke. But this is what is so good about free market economics. It's that keeps the prices down because of the competition will come in. So if you're selling tennis rackets and you start charging $300 a racket and you're making 40%, well, guess what? Bobby's going to come in and make tennis rackets to compete with you. And he's going to take part of your profit. And he's going to say, I'm going to sell them for $275 because my cost is $100. And slowly the price of the racket goes down and the quality of the racket goes up. That's the beauty of free market economics. That's why you got to keep mostly the banks out of it because they're the government. And that's the problem. So that's why I'm so excited about BRICS gold-backed currency October 22nd, because that is the key to compete for the dollar, because right now it's a monopoly. You have to have the dollar because there's nobody else with value. You can't come out with the Chinese yuan or the euro or the British pound. None of those are any good. They're all worthless. And none of them can compete with the dollar just because there's so many dollars out there. But gold-backed currency, nobody can compete with gold. You can't compete your dollar backed by nothing with gold. So that's why it's coming. And I think it's Pat was saying that Russia has been buying 7 times more gold than usual, I guess, in the last month or two. So this is what we're gonna see. Bobby, what were you number 25? I don't see the number on the jersey there, Bobby Bo. I just see the Bonella and the cute pirate hat. What number was Barry? Barry's I can't see his number either. Mahomes is 15, I think. Yeah, Mahomes is 15. You wore 23. So you wore 25 and 23. Oh, is that why Luke's laughing? Okay. Oh, I see. You're talking the Pirates, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, we'll see. November should be, or October should be a huge month for us. I mean, we should, because I think they'll revalue gold when the BRICS comes out and announces the gold backed currency, and the new gold price will be $7,500. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see it jump up. And see, the problem is the U.S. has been keeping the price of gold down since 1945. Or, well, even in 45, it was 20 some dollars an ounce in the whatever. I can't think of the name of that. But they were keeping the price down. The Bretton Woods, they were keeping the price down to $20. There was never a free market price on gold. It backed the money, but it was 20. All Nixon had to do was raise the price of gold to $500 an ounce, and then you'd be fine. But you can't just keep printing money. So what Nixon, they were printing money more than they had the gold. That's why they went off of it in 71. Because you got a bunch of idiots. Well, we got to give everybody money. We got to be socialist. And we know what happens to socialists. They always go out and get zeroed, and that ends the country basically. So we're this far away from total collapse. Yeah, Greta. Unfortunately, most family and friends will say that when you advise them to buy metals, the people will run to gold soon and it'll be gone. I don't think there's really any left. I think I'll go to my gold store tomorrow. I want to buy a quarter ounce really bad. And that'll end it because, well, unless I get the inheritance from my mom's trust already, that's coming soon. Buy a couple more ounces and then just sit back and watch the price go up. But yeah, well, I mean, Greg and John, you don't know how to explain it. I mean, you can barely talk in class. So who knows what you're actually telling them if you're talking gold and you're bringing up the Yankees or something. But people, you have to explain it. I was getting a deep rub massage yesterday, working on my feet and my back, which keep killing me. She gave me magnesium for it. She says, take this when you get it. She put a laser on my gout foot, and the pain went away, and then she rubbed the hell out of it, and it was fine. I could walk fine. And then I got home and my foot started to hurt a little bit. Today it's been okay, a little tender, but I've been able to walk on it. And but I was explaining gold to her. She wants to learn. She said, nobody can tell me. And I says, well, I'll take you to my gold store. We'll have lunch and I'll take you there and we'll go buy some. But you got to do it soon because you can't wait. Once October hits, you're not going to be able to afford it. You can afford silver. She says, well, what's going to happen to all the people that don't have gold and silver? I go, well, they're going to be in the soup kitchens. That's what's going to happen to them. How are they going to pay their rent? Everything will change. So I was going to do something on Rolex, a 60,000. What happens to a $60,000 Rolex? This will be good. So you own a $60,000 Rolex or a Mantle card or Bobby Bow, one of his expensive cards if he has one. And okay, so the Rolex is valued at 60 grand. What happens to it when the dollar goes out? So let's go to
Your client's web.
Let's go to our Rolex. Yeah. All right. So here's a Rolex, let's say for $22,863. I don't know if it's sold. So let's say you bought this. What happens to it? So this is the question. The dollar goes. This is gone. What's the Rolex worth? Nothing. Because this is a dollar price. It needs to get converted to some form of money. It'll either go into a US dollar number two, of which will be worthless because it won't be backed by gold or gold itself. So the 22,862 is priced in is in heavily inflated fiat money. Will now get priced in gold. My guess would be a half ounce. Be about a half ounce of gold will buy you that Rolex. And that's what we're going to enjoy, is taking our gold and buying little stuff like this. Or this one, 527. It might be a couple ounces. There's two things going on. The price is in dollars, and it's going to go to zero in dollars. And then what's it worth in what the money is? And the money will be gold. So now you're holding on to this $500,000 Rolex. Now, because it's got value, it doesn't go to zero and stay zero. Because it has value, somebody will buy it with whatever money's out there. So don't worry about it. That's why your house will go to zero in dollars, but Luke's going to come to you with 2 ounces of gold and say, I'll buy your house for you. And depending on most people, they're not going to have any money. So the demand for gold will be so high that the value of gold will be so high, and you'll reprice the Rolex from 527,000 fake dollars to an ounce of gold, roughly, maybe 2 ounces of gold. You don't think of gold as 2,500. And this is priced in fiat. So this goes to zero. It goes to, I want to buy it. And I've got gold and silver and I need to sell it because I can't eat. I need the gold and silver. So it's a double demand. You're going to sit there like Eddie Murphy and go, okay, I'll buy it. And they're going to need the money. That's the frenzy part of the Titanic, is you have these things that are assets. A Van Gogh, it was worth $1 million, is now worth nothing because there's nothing priced in dollars. So the question asked by the massage therapist yesterday was, well, what happens to everybody? No, they try to get gold and silver. They'll sell their things of value, the Rolex, the Mantle cards, whatever they have of value, they will sell it to whoever has gold and silver. And it's going to be a problem. I don't know what the fuck Kroger's and Walmart's is going to do. They'll have to reprice everything in gold and silver. If gold and silver is the money, whatever the new money is what they're going to have to reprice everything at. So does that mean, how much is tuna fish? Well, a tenth of an ounce of silver, probably. Everything will be a tenth of an ounce of silver because I don't think they value much less than that in silver. So most of your basic food. But so that's what's going to happen. So the $500,000 house in fiat currency becomes 2 ounces of gold, and the value of gold is no longer in fiat currency. So when you ask me, is it going to hit 50,000, 100? No, it won't, because there won't be dollars to value it in. Gold then becomes the valuer, and it's what can gold buy? Oh, it can buy a $500,000 Rolex Daytona for, what do you think? 2 ounces? I think I lost my phone's. I got to go plug my phone in. So that's, to answer her question, I assume there'll be soup kitchens like in the 1930s when FDR fucked everybody over with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, and then let's build roads and all that shit. So the government will have soup kitchens, and I don't know where people are going to live. I mean, are you still going to be in your house? The banks will be big trouble, but they'll still be around. I mean, what is a bank for? It's to store your money, but do you really want your money stored in a bank anymore? I don't think that needs there. No, I can keep my money in gold and silver and buy a safe and keep it here, or whatever loose change I got. And then when I get paid, that pays rent and utilities and food. So the purpose of a bank is that, like, I'm in the bank, they're offering me 9% annuity. I'm telling them to go fuck off. I don't want to be on the Titanic. What part of this do you not understand? I don't want to be in dollars. I want to be in gold. They don't understand that concept, as most of these idiots don't. Luke's friend, $4 trillion in his 401k. When that goes to zero, what's he going to do? He probably kill himself, but what, he doesn't get it. So Greg and John, nobody understands is the dollars going out. That's what you need to explain, but it's way over your head. You can't explain it to a normal person because you're not trained in it. You don't take good enough notes in class here. So you got to understand the reason is because this is going to zero. This is your first thing, is you got to get out of dollars. So your question was, I told my family to buy gold, and my sister, they think it's nonsense. Okay, so why do they think it's not? What is your answer to when they say, I think it's nonsense? This is the problem, Luke. The reason is because this is worthless. If you print 150 trillion of this shit and have a $36 billion debt, trillion dollar debt, I can't even believe it's trillion. This doesn't have a value. Nobody wants it. When nobody wants it, it has no value. 159 countries are getting out of the dollar, and they want to go to the gold that the BRICS have. So nobody wants your money. If nobody wants your money, it's worthless. Like Bobby at the end of his career, nobody wanted Bobby. He then became worthless. In his prime, everybody wanted him. He made good money. But at the end, what happens? He's the fat, ugly woman at the end of the bar. Nobody wants her. Sorry, when you were 20, dear, I did, not at 60. And that's what is happening to the dollar. Nobody wants it. Nobody will buy our T-bills. China, Japan, Saudi Arabia are giving back the T-bill. Here's your money back. I'm going to go buy gold. Thank you very much. And so when there's no demand, there's no value. That's how you have to answer the question. Although you're not capable of answering the question properly, because they're going to say, well, why is the dollar going out? And you've got to be able to say, because they're printing it and it's worthless and there's no demand, which you probably can't do. You don't listen in class. That's one of your big problems. So then they're not going to be able to understand that concept anyway. So then you say, well, gold used to be $37 an ounce in 1972, and now it's $25.50. Imagine that. So you're not buying gold to get rich, but you're getting out of the dollar to not be poor. So Luke's buddy, Captain Kirk, at $4 million in his IRA, doesn't think he's worried about it. I'm not going to worry about, why would I worry about the dollar? I got 4 million of them. And then you say, wow, they're monopoly money. So you're playing monopoly. You don't have real money. You have government fiat, which he won't understand because his head's clouded by the $4 million, not the fact it's worthless. He's got worthless money. So therefore, he's fucked. This is the problem, but he won't listen. So he's a rich nothing, he doesn't have anything. But if you hold let's say he got $4 million in Rolexes and Mantle cards. All right. Jim Brown rookies and Joe Montana rookie, Bobby Bowe rookies, Jordan rookies. If he did that with his $4 million, he wouldn't have 4 million. he'd have whatever amount of gold will buy the 4 million, which I'm saying will be, 10 ounces will buy you $4 million worth, because again, the prices drop. So the Rolex is not worth 60,000 anymore, but it has a value because it's a Rolex. There will be demand. It just needs to be settled in gold, you can't settle it in dollars anymore. And that's what it's over everybody's head but us. They won't get that concept. So the prices get revalued and in gold. So the closest I could come is the Zimbabwe dollar was 30,000. $1 bought you 30,000 Zimbabwe bullshit dollars. And then Zimbabwe comes out the ZIG, and the ZIG is $9. So $1 US buys you 9 ZIG. It went from 30,000 to 9. Can you even comprehend that? So does that mean a 90,000 Mercedes goes to $30 in gold? Exactly. So the more gold you have, you're going to be just cherry picking, because the other thing is people are too stupid to have gold. So as my massage therapist says, what happens to the people who don't have gold? Well, they'll be dumping their assets for gold and silver. That's why you can't have enough gold and silver now. So you're going to be buying assets so cheap. And the thing is, you paid $30 for silver, and you'll be buying cars with the silver. And you're going, fuck, I just paid $30 and I got a nice car. Or you bought that new car, Luke. You could have bought it with maybe 3 ounces of silver. Because again, nobody will have money, and it all gets revalued. And that's really the key to it. So if you don't have gold and silver, you're going to sell whatever you have for gold and silver. That's how it's going to work. Just like if you don't have money, what are these people doing going to the gold store, right? They don't have any of this. They need money for food or rent, or maybe they just want to dump their gold at this high price of $25. So what do? They take their gold in to get money. So nothing will change except they'll take their gold, they'll take their Rolexes in, but the money will be gold. And that's how they're going to accumulate gold and silver, is by selling their things of value. You got a $60,000 mantle card. Believe me, somebody's going to buy it in gold and silver. The more gold and silver you have, the better it is, because you'll be buying your house with 2 ounces, 3 ounces of gold at most. And people will happily need the gold, will happily sell it, because we're smart enough to buy it at $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 for an ounce. And soon it goes to $35,000 for the ounce. And we're just sitting there going, yeah, I'm glad I bought 50 ounces of this stuff, or 1,000 ounces of silver. Then you're going to be really glad you bought it. And then you'll understand why you bought so much of it, and then the purpose of it. You'll be able to buy things. Yeah, there's a Mercedes over there. I got 5 ounces of silver. And they go, oh yeah, fine, I'll take it. Especially like a used one, because they need to get whatever the money is. Now they sell it to get dollars, then they'll sell it to get the gold and the silver. And that's the difference. So even this will come in. It's not worth as much as the coin, but it's getting there. I paid $525 for my Masters, 1995. Gold was $250 an ounce. So I thought I had 2 ounces of gold. Now it's worth 3/4 of an ounce. So if it's $2,500, it's 3/4. So let's say it's $2,000. This is worth. Not bad. When I paid $500 for it. Now the $500 I used is not, or is probably worthless now, right? And that's really what's happened, is the dollar's declined, and as the dollar declines, that's brings in the demand for gold, because nobody will have it, right? Everybody in the U.S. is too smart for us, right? Oh, I got $4 million in my IRA, and my sister doesn't get it, and Bobby's sister doesn't get it. All these people don't understand. Pat gets ridiculed. We're the strange, ugly duckling, the black ducks, the black swans, because we we're buying gold and silver. Why would you do that? Because this is fucking worthless. That's why we're doing that. And we get the last laugh when we're buying nice things for silver that we paid $28 an ounce for. And then we see that's where we get the real value that JP Morgan's been keeping down for us gets exploded out. And then we find out our ounce of silver is buying a car, and we're going, now we're getting to the true non JP Morgan value because it's really not worth 30. That's why you run and buy as much gold and silver as you can now, because when that switches, you'll be buying maybe a Picasso for a couple ounces of gold. And it's not really, it's the value is because the people won't have the money because they're all smarter than we are. So they don't have any gold or silver. So how do they get money? Well, they sell what's valuable: Rolex, Mantle, Picasso, Van Gogh, my Canadian Club 12-year. What are you going to sell the tennis rackets for, Luke? An ounce of silver, probably. And then you'll accumulate silver by doing that. So that's what happens. Let's read up. Okay, Pat. Yes, Luke, there is not much around. One super wealthy person can clean up a huge amount of retail. Exactly. Luke, you're welcome, Luke. Try Deep Blue for your feet. Peppermint. Yeah, I heard peppermint's pretty, but she gave me magnesium, so I'll probably rub that on later. I've been rubbing on castor oil for what are the bone spurs, but the lady yesterday said you don't have any bone spurs. She said I could feel it. You don't have bone spurs. Okay, well, just checking on that. So I'll keep castor oil is very good for a lot of things, so I'll keep that around. Can't wait for gold to be unattainable. Well, that'll be October when BRICS announces it. You got to understand the whole world are idiots. They don't think they need gold, except for some Germans are smart enough because they've lived through it. Most people don't get it. And all the real rich people, Warren Buffett will be broke. So will Zuckerberg and Gates, because they're too smart to get into gold now. And even though they have $1 billion, that'll be worth zero. How are they going to buy gold, even though they have money, that the money is not worth anything? That is the problem. So with that being said, like Luke, I know you thought, well, my guy will buy gold at 15,000 an ounce. With what? Will his money be worth 15,000? And will there be any gold to buy? So that's the only thing. I know we're thinking of taking 10 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold, which in theory is perfect today. Down the road, everybody needing gold and silver, will there be any gold to get? Because I don't think there's a whole lot out. Luke, I think we're very close to being unattainable. I think the only reason, if I went to my coin store today or if I go tomorrow, the only reason I'm going to see it is because Joe Blow came and sold his gold because he thought 25.25 was the top, was the all-time record high. In paper, we don't give a fuck about paper. So I think because these people are dumping it because they need money, then I can go to the store and buy it. And then when people need money, it's going to switch because the money will be the gold and silver versus the paper crap. Now, I don't know. I don't know if the U.S. will come out with USD2 and blame Putin and blame the wars. Oh, these wars are expensive. It bankrupt us. We need new money. And that's my guess is what they're doing. I don't know what they'll do with the debt, and I don't know what they're going to do with the mortgages and credit card debt that we all have, because that dollar's gone. That ship's sailed. So I owe you 5,000 in Visa and my credit card. I can't pay you because there's no more dollars to pay you, and the dollar's worthless. It's gone. So the 5,000's still there. And then what happens to it? So That's probably the biggest thing. I would think the credit cards and the mortgages, I think the mortgages go to zero and the credit cards as well as the assets. So the house goes to zero. So it'll be both, right? Your mortgage will go to zero, your house will go to zero because the money's gone to zero. So in that world, there's nothing there. Everything's gone. There's no value. I can't pay anything. How can I pay $1,000 a month credit card or mortgage when there's no money? And they don't know we have gold and silver. So, and then it becomes US dollar number 2, ruble. It's on ruble number 8. But they survive. Daria's fine. I bought her some. She wanted a dress. So I bought her a dress. No, I bought her a coat for winter. It's getting cold. And I said, well, do you need hats or gloves? She said, yeah, I need some like pants and hats and gloves. So I gave her like another 100, I think 125. And she was all excited and she bought, I don't know. She went shopping the other day for it. And anyway, so she's all excited, but she's pretty, good with money. Not like Carmen, who wanted to spend thousands of dollars. Buy me a house in Romania. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know what a house costs there. If she could have got a house for 20,000 Ray, that's only 5,000 US, but she wasn't really my girlfriend because she didn't want to have sex. So what was the point of that? You're welcome, Luke. Pat, Luke, beware what you wish for with unobtainable. Things can get very messy everywhere. Pat, we don't care about that because that's why we buy it now. The unattainable parts for the people that don't have it. And like I said, they'll sell their assets to get it, just like they sell their assets, gold and silver now, to get real money. So you go through your assets, you'll have a nice car, you'll sell it for gold and buy a cheaper car. But gold will be the money. And that's no. What we're saying is we want it to be very limited and the price to be very high because we already have. That's what Luke's talking about. And same thing with silver. We have a lot of silver, so we want the price to go up. But unattainable, it'll always be attainable at a price. So if gold hits 20,000, it'll be attainable, but you need 20,000 an ounce to pay it, or 40,000 an ounce, or it won't be anything an ounce. It'll just be gold. So there's always a value that you can get for it. It's like a Picasso. It's $1 million, but if you offer the guy 2 million, you can get yourself a Picasso if you have it. So yeah, gold will always be attainable because there'll be a price for it. But if you just read what's going on and see that the central banks are buying it, if you can see that, understand that, why are they buying it? And then if you notice, they're not buying Bitcoin or any of these cryptos or OneCoin, the fabulous currency that they never made, but the girl sold all of it. That's the point. So again, in the free market, you need the medium of exchange. It'll just switch from this crap to gold and silver if they have a gold standard. If they don't have anything, it'll go to gold and silver in a black market, which is like Bitcoin's a black market. And people with the gold and silver will eat fine and have a nice house and a nice car and not have any problems. The rest of the world is going to be in big doo-doo because they'll be going for soup kitchen for food. I mean, this is the government at its worst is what's happening now. These people are so stupid. But it's by people that don't want the U.S. to be successful. Obama and this Kamala and and Jimmy Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Joe Bob Clinton. They all want the U.S. to crash for some reason. They're making a lot of money on it, but I think they think they're globalists, like Facebook. It's all over the world. It's not just in America. Don't kid yourself. You're getting paid in American dollars. I don't know how you make money for a product you don't charge for. This is the point. Well, we'll make money on the advertising, huh? And that's where the venture capitalist comes in, and he starts giving them all this money, but it isn't worth it. Like their stock prices, go to their earnings. They don't have earnings, or their earnings are stocks, and then how much they make selling our information. Terrible business plan. It's cool. It'll get views, so that's what's cool. What kind of product is it? Oh, it's not really a product. We don't charge for anything. How are you in business? That's the part I don't get. How does he have a nickel to his name? It's the stupidest business I've ever seen, and he's a thief for stealing your information and selling your information. What kind of business is that? That'd be like the Adam Smith's the scone bakery, where the people wanted scones, and he's taking your information down. And Adam Smith doesn't see this part, and he's selling the information to the government that you bought your scones from, or something like that. That's how stupid it is. Anyway, we got a football game to watch soon. And we'll see how Mahomes, we know how he'll look. Lamar, good luck with Lamar. Pat, so that means you can always get gold with enough silver. Yes, because there is gold. It's not like it's going to go to zero, right? There'll still be 260,000 tons of gold. I'll give up my gold for the right. If you offered me $20,000 an ounce for my gold, I'll be giving you 5 ounces of gold right now. So there's a value of what you paid for it and what you can get for it, which creates that the supply will still be there. The supply's there, but at this price. So here's supply, and the demand's up here. So you think, well, there's no supply, but as the demand, as they sell it and they run out of supply, then price comes in, and as price goes up here because it's limited. Well, let's look at this card. So this is a 50 count Mahomes card, right? There's only 50, but I guarantee you there's more than 50 people that want it. So that'll be like gold. Well, it's 2,000, 5,000 you can have it, or 10,000 you can have it. So at a certain price, I'm willing to sell it for. That's what the market determines. At what point will you start selling your gold? And that's the price that it'll get to. And then it won't even be priced in dollars because they'll be worthless. So then it will become, the purchasing power of the gold. But they'll always, like here, there's more than 50 people that want that card. Well, there'll be more than 250,000 tons of people wanting the gold, especially the rich people who finally figure out that their dollar's worthless. When Warren Buffett understands that he's sitting on a dollar that is worthless, then he will buy gold. And the fact he hasn't means he's an idiot. Right? If he knew what he was doing, he'd have been buying gold for the whole thing. But the fact he doesn't own any gold or silver, he's an idiot. Right? He doesn't see gold. Well, I don't see the value. It doesn't do anything. It's money, you idiot. It's real money that can't be printed, that has a value no matter what. And that's what he doesn't get. That's why he'll go broke, because he's not smart enough to listen, and he's not smart enough to understand you can't print. It'll go to zero no matter what the government says. Oh, don't worry, we're the U.S. We'll never go out. Yeah, you keep printing your money, it will be. So, yes, depends on the gold price. We'll always, it's like anything, like I said, the Van Gogh, the Picasso, the Rolex watch. The guy's selling it for $60,000, one of them. And then it becomes, how much gold will you have to offer to get the Rolex is basically what it'll be. And that's how you get the Rolex. People will sell their Rolex. And the Rolex is key because, I don't have gold, but I have a Rolex. So you can sell your Rolex to golf for gold. That's how you'll survive. Even though you don't have gold or silver, you can get it with an asset. You can get it with your house. You can get it with a Mercedes. You can get it with gold jewelry. But with a lot of stuff, you won't, well, how about my plates? Well, you can get an ounce of silver with it, So depending on what your asset is how much gold and silver you'll get for it. And then you're eating. Just like now, people can't afford to eat. They sell their gold. They get money. They can go eat. So it's gonna be the same thing, only with gold and silver. All right, I'm gonna go watch the game, and we will go from there. Bobby, Luke, Pat. We will probably do a show tomorrow. Now, if I get people to make a class, I'll make a class Friday nights. So far, nobody's signing up for the class. I think they're waiting for next week because they know I tell them wait. The first week's hard, but not this first week. This first week's looks very inviting. Using last year's stats, has things changed? Maybe. I'm not playing the Denver game because of Bo Nix. I don't know. I got to see Bo Nix. And, but I have a feel of I'm not playing Chicago, but I know Caleb sucks. So I'm not playing Tennessee, but I should, but I'm not, so a few games where I want to see the quarterback is where I'm not. Anyway, so that's it. Good luck, everybody. A lot of good. Like I said, I have 2 locks. I have a lock in pro, a lock in college. I think I got 7 or 8 pro games and 6 or 7 college games. I'm all loaded up. I love the games. College, I think I'll do well. Pros, I should do well. Coming on to onto what I'm doing. But anyway, remember, we're looking at a paper gold number. We're talking physical gold number. When the paper is blown up, the derivatives should not be used to price gold. It's a bullshit price. Just like your dollar's bullshit. It's worth $1 million is worth $100. I mean, they're not worth anything. So the quicker you understand that, the quicker you get out of it. So anyway, so that's what's going on, everybody. I don't know if I had an omelet, so I'm going to have a little snack and then go watch the game and put my feet in magnesium and hopefully kill my gout. And then I got to look at, I actually should run to the store. Well, I'll run tomorrow. All of a sudden, Jenna wants an iPhone. What's the price of an iPhone 8 or something? I'm like, well, I'm not buying you one, but I can get a price for you. Are you going to pay me for it? I just paid for your trip to Berlin, and we got a vacation in October. I don't have money for a Rolex till I get my mom's trust. Then I might have money for it because I'm not selling my gold at these low prices. All right, everybody, have a good day. www.teaserking.com. Sign up for classes. Sign up for the picks. Whatever your heart desires. All right, take care.